Good afternoon on what is a warm, bright and sunny day. It is Wednesday the 19th of June and I'm in the reading nook with a nice hot cup of tea and a box, quite a thick one, but I recognise the style of packaging. It's not drive-through because it's got this tag on the back. It's a bit more, dare I say it, professional. Doesn't involve an awfully strong glue, which you've got to fight with. So what I've got in here is this. So I'm going to slide those out. You can't see those, but I will show you those. So there's the Pendragon core rulebook and the Grey Knight. That's a Pendragon campaign. I'll do an unboxing of that later, because I'm going to do an unboxing of the core rulebook today. So, what kind of knight will you become? Will you fight to rid the world of injustice, or use the clout and power to take advantage of those beneath you? Pendragon is set amidst the glory and grandeur of King Arthur's Britain. Its innovative mechanics drive the emotional impact of play as your characters pursue glory, overcome life and death struggles, cross blades with ruthless enemies, and fight for love and justice in a world of brutal medieval realism. A detailed look at the world of King Arthur and the role of knights and nobility, full character creation rules, 6 pre-generated character templates for optional faster character creation, the complete core rules of the Pendragon game system, including traits and passions, skills, combat, injury and recovery, favours, honour and glory, additional rules for afflictions, obsessions, directed traits, ideals, ransom and equipment lists, rules for the winter phase, the downtime period of the game for characters to train, age and even go on side quests, a coat of arms generated to make wholly unique heraldry for your player knight. The Pendragon core rulebook is your guide to Pendragon, containing all the rules you need to play. It's a standalone product which can be combined with other books in the line to enhance your Pendragon experience. Now, Pendragon is published in 1985, something like that, and it is the premier Arthurian role-playing game in the hobby. It's not been bettered. Nobody's done it. There have been various attempts, some of them good, some of them not so good, but this one stands head and shoulders above all else. It's designed by Stafford, and it's basically possibly the role-playing game that he was the most happy with. And it's I've played it over the years. It's an app, and I even played this new version with the starter set, which is very good. And hugely enjoyed that, and I'm really looking forward to playing the new setting, the new rules in full, because what it offers is a chance to play a character through a very kind of barbarous and then romantic and then tumultuous times over the course of years and years, playing to the point where you will, as a player knight, you will have children, and then your children will grow up to follow in your footsteps and take up the same mantle of knighthood and serve King Arthur. So here we have basically Arthur himself pulling the sword from the stone. And then we've got credits and contents page, quite dense to be fair, and then we get to the meat of the game. We start off with Welcome to Camelot, with this highly illuminated look and feel as if it was a medieval manuscript. It's talking about how this is another world, the King Arthur, the best king in the world, rules. This is a world of noble knights and ladies. All knights are not the same. This is a world of hard choices. Personality matters. It's all about struggle, about tragedy. Glory is everything. The round table is your goal. You want to accrue enough glory to stand alongside great knights and be a member of the round table. And the characters have no script immunity. Combat is deadly. But basically a modern game set in ancient times. You can play the game as episodic scenarios of high fantasy. You can play the game as an Arthurian campaign. The latter, the Arthurian campaign, is better than an episodic. But the other thing, this is a world in which time passes and changes. So it's talking about essentially. So it's talking about the principles of the game here, and how the time passes and and the world changes. And you've got a timeline there of the different phases of the campaign, really beginning sort of like in 415 CE, and then with Constantine elected as High King of Britain, and then going forward all the way up to 558, 566, the Twilight period, and here we go. When the Round Table splits, and Sir Mordred leads a bloody final uprising, and King Arthur is borne away to Avalon. So it's looking at that. Gives that an overview. Discusses the nature of the game. There's a note there here on on female knights. You can have those in there. What knight is made up of. Female knights as player characters, addresses that option directly, and also women at arms in history and the genre, and there's a history of that as well, and you've got a lovely bit of illuminated artwork showing you that at the bottom of the page. Basically, I am playing a female Saxon knight in our current campaign, which is on hold before we begin with this. So let's get back to it. So you've got a discussion of how to become a knight, and possible ranks and titles you can hold, all depending upon your origins, your father's status, and then the status you acquire through your adventures, and how much glory you have attained. I know. My previous campaign, I played the most average of knights possible, and accrued an awful lot of glory. Because I didn't want to play. I wanted to let the other players play what they wanted, and I just went, okay, I'm going to give the absolute average. So you've got discussions of the different types of knight, basically household knight, baronet knight, vassal knight, so on, and the advantages, disadvantages of being in those positions, and then we've got broad discussion of what the responses of being a knight are, how they will quest an adventure. What their daily life is like, why they fight, and then the place of ladies in society, including basically their roles as handmaiden, wife, mother, and widow, and then possibly heiress. My character was actually wooing the Countess of Salisbury, or attempting to. Also, you've got other roles here, lover, nun, and so on. We've got a guide on how to play those. They won't necessarily be player characters, they generally tend to be NPCs. And then we get into discussion of the game system, including its concepts, statistics, values, traits, and passions, and the dice it uses. So going through the basic core rules, really, which are roll is a 20-sided die. Get under the score, but roll under the score as high as possible. So it's really nice and simple. And if you roll dead on the value that you're rolling against, you get a critical success. And you've got discussion there. The bonus, I have instances where basically I just critical rolled on. When I was charging, and just the amount of damage I would be inflicting upon the poor Saxons, or the picks at the end of my lance, was appalling. I will get to the point where you've got the explanation of what the characteristics are, and it looks very much like a basic role play character with the stats, size, dexterity, strength, constitution, appearance, and so on. And there's no stat for intelligence, which is a little bit different. But actually, we move on to, surprisingly, doesn't talk very much about traits and passions here, but it will get into those in detail. Essentially, you've got movement with a rather nice map of Britain at the time. And then we've got how to create your character, your knight, including rolling for heroic events, which your father and grandfather was involved in, because they can bequeath you glory added to your starting bonus. The default location is Salisbury in the county of Wiltshire. Basically got a table of names and so on. You're rolling for your attributes. It does explain there why there's no intelligence modifier, because essentially it's down to the players rather than the characters on that function. Discussion of passions and skills, and then attaining knighthood. So it's taking you through the whole process. So on the different aspects of your character, your heir, your class, age and year born, when you were knighted, and then your luck benefits. And then we get on to actual traits and passions, and there is the meat of the game, and you can see the trait pairs there. So, for example, you've got chaste versus lustful, energetic versus lazy, generous versus selfish, just versus arbitrary, trusting versus suspicious. And some of those are positive, and you'll get benefits for having them, or basically having some at certain values. But at key points in adventure, you will be checking those traits, those passions, and sort of those traits to see how you will behave. Are you suspicious? I don't know. Let's find out. Yes, you are suspicious, and then you role play to the outcome, and so on. So you've got discussions of those traits, and there's a lot of kind of directed role playing due to those traits, and you kind of think that what they really are is a set of advantages and disadvantages which each and every knight has in common, but to varying level. And it can be really funny in play for you to roll against your character, or what you want to do as a character, but your character might be trying to improve themselves, but still fails to do so because they've for example, it might be they want. Oh yes, I'll definitely get up in the morning, but because you've got to go out on a hunt, and you're committed to that, but because you are lazy, you oversleep. That's sort of how it works. But of course, it actually goes into more detail in general about how that works, and then it covers things like passions. So that might be love of your family, loyalty to your lord, and so on. And they can be invoked to gain bonuses on actions, and so on. But of course, if you roll badly against them, that can lead to madness and affliction, and melancholy, which requires healing. And healing is always difficult in this setting, because there is magic, but it's not that kind of magic. Typically it takes rest and recuperation, as well as a Chaosium roll, or Chaosium. So then we move on to the descriptions of the skills. some which are knightly, so awareness, battle, brawling, charge, courtesy, first aid, horsemanship, hunting, recognise, and all weapon skills. So there we go. See that. Non-knightly skills are chirurgery and industry. Don't want to be sending, don't want to be seen to be making things, but other skills, like bow or first aid, are actually woodcraft skills, so slightly different. So it's also interesting to note that this is not the only Arthurian role-playing game that Craig Stafford created. The other one was Prince Valiant, which is more of a storytelling game, and very, very well done also. So you've got discussions of the various skills. You've got notes there on the common class, the ones, the members of the peasantry, which the as a knight you are generally sworn to protect, especially if you're one of Arthur's knights. So you've got explanation of all the skills, how to modify them. There are notes there on the clerical class, basic members of the Christian Church, and so on. But to which you owe a religious fealty. And then we get on to aspirations, which is really things like character progression, improving your honour, so on, how to defend it, how to lose it, that sort of thing. And you can even be a dishonourable knight if you wanted to be, but that may well lead to opprobrium, as it were. And of course, what you're truly trying to gain is glory, glory for yourself, glory for the king. You will basically gain glory, for example, for defeating a group of bandits, or defeating a foe with a particularly high skill, heroic deeds, and killing a panther, or saving your liege lord's life. And there are requirements which you've got to fulfil if you want to progress, as a chivalrous knight, and even attain being a knight of the round table. Then move on to combat. We've got this dissection of the combat round, and primarily what you're doing is you are rolling opposed rolls against your skill and checking on that table to see which of the combatants have rolled better than the other, and that determines the outcome and whether or not you're going to inflict damage. You'd have some details upon missile weapons, generally not a weapon that the knight uses, though there are examples of when it does happen. A lovely little piece there of a rabbit knight on riding a lion. The artwork is delightfully illuminated, as it were, and occasionally gruesome. And then you've actually got a fantastic piece of illustration of combat without actual weapons. Basically, somebody attempting to brain the other with a lute. So, I also got rules there for multiple opponents, and I will absolutely say, fighting multiple opponents is difficult. It's meant to be. And then we've got an example of full combat. So, basically you've got really how does it's been telling you how the rules work up to this point, and now it is going through. He's going to show you how the rules work over multiple rounds. That's quite an extensive example. So you've got round 1 there, and then we're up to round 4 there on the the 3rd page, and all the way to round 8, where, as you can see, the rabbit has his revenge. And then we weapon section. Most of the time, your character's going to be your average knight is going to be wielding a sword, an arming sword, but there are plenty of other weapons available if necessary. I've got an illustration of them there. Some of them quite nasty, and all weapons are nasty, but some nastier than the others. And the same thing for armour, and armour will vary a bit over the history of the over the time period. And then it's got a note there on chainmail. What we actually mean by chainmail, which is actually what we mean by mail rather than chain. So there's the table of armour. And you've got basically the types of armour available in the different periods. And the different types of helms available. What's available. Same again for shields. And you've got a couple of jousting rabbits there, illuminating the book. Just the same thing for your horse. Okay, because these are going to be vitally important for your knight who needs that as a mount. Yes, I have to say in our campaign, one player was undone constantly by his inability to keep a horse alive during the winter phase. We were just looking at him going, what are you doing with those horses? So you've got a good complete guide to horses. And then got notes on injuries and health. So after all of that, if you've been hurt, including with notes there on how an injury is handled with an example, plus 2 knights fighting to their death. And how they might recover. It's healing and recovery. And then wealth, treasure, and trade. And trade is not a knightly activity, but sources of wealth include ransoms, loot, and so on. There's also favours to be earned and given, ideas on how to use your wealth. You've got a price list. And this isn't a game where you will be spending you will be spending money, but it's not the point. It's nice to have, you can invest it essentially. And then we also have a section on supporting characters, who will become more important as your play progresses and you have more responsibility. And then we have some solo scenarios which could be done when you are, basically during the winter phase. So having played through a sort of scenario in the summer phase, the winter phase you might do something else. You might visit a royal city, visit a Lord's Overlord, go on a pilgrimage, even suffer madness for reasons yet to be worked out. And you've got tables for all of that. And then you've actually got the winter phase itself. The winter phase is when you can't go adventuring, or best isn't because the weather's against you, and you will see to your basically all of the upkeep and details of your manor. Let's see what happens over the course of the winter. Look after your horses, prepare for the next summer, perhaps learn from what's happened, and improve yourself and your reputation. There will be events over the course of the winter phase, but they won't necessarily be sort of like big events like going out to battle, unless sort of like the Saxons or the Picts are discourteous enough to come and fight you. Anyway, so yeah, you've even got tables for events that can happen, random events. That includes things like you're getting your wife becoming pregnant, rolling for childbirth, and more, and your child's survival. It's a harsh world. So here we come to the appendices, and here we've got notes on the new edition. and how to convert to 6th edition from the previous editions, including list of equipment. All very helpful. You've got a coat of arms generator. Notes on the field divisions and treatments. And I must admit, sort of like this sort of like began my interest in heraldry that I had at one point. I do appreciate it all the same. So these absolutely fantastic full colour in all their glory. You've got some pre-generated characters, so the Adventuring Knight, the Champion Knight, the Courtier Knight, and the Hardy Knight, and then the Hunter Knight, and the Religious Knight. So all for basically 6 archetypes which you can just pull out and play. There's the breakdown of the character sheet, and what you can see here is, more importantly, you can see it properly, is this is where you put the traits and you see them opposing and so on more clearly. So yeah, and then on the back you've got space for your history and the events where you accrue glory. There we go, and then we've got the index at the back. So yeah, that is the Pendragon core rulebook. Now, I would say it's not. I mean, there's going to be a lot of there. It's not complete. It's not going to have any of the sort of like the threats that the sort of the character the knights might face. Game master advice, etc. There'll be another core book for that. But this is all you're going to need to play, and certainly very much likely all you're going to need to play this, or indeed the starter set if you want to play with your own characters. Anyway, so that's the Pendragon core rulebook, published by Chaosium, written by the late great Greg Stafford. I hope you enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you did, then please do click on the like button down below. And if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to get more unboxings of the Nook, where you'll see me out here with a package containing a book or game, or in this case the core rulebook for Pendragon, which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. Then please do click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing in the Nook. I will be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.